Thank you for joining me today. I'm glad you're here. My name is Jerrel. I develop games for a living. Today I want to discuss an important topic when it comes to game development, getting into game development, learning game development, and I want to frame this topic within the question, why do so many people quit learning game development while using Unity? And the answer to that is not that simple. It is from the get-go, but there's much more to the answer. So why do so many quit game development while learning to use Unity? Is that Unity is the wrong tool to start learning game development with. This goes in line with Unreal as well. Today I'm going to examine 3 different game engines. We will take a look at Unity. I will show you the workspace for one of my upcoming games. We will take a look at Game Maker. This is a platformer template that you can download that is shared with you when you first open. You can click that and download that. We will take a look at the logistics of that. And then we will take a look at RPG Maker MV as well. So, what is most important when you are learning game development is not the act of using a game engine. It's not about using software. That is not game development. Game development is a very cerebral, creative skill. Game development is the ability to take a concept from your mind and to transcribe that and turn it into a functional product that exists. The other day, I ended up bumping into a viewer of this channel here at a saloon in Pollock Pines, California, and we were chatting about game development. And he explained his experience trying to make a game using Unity and other similar programs. And I explained that using Unity is a skill all in itself because you have to understand the tool, all the quirks that go into it. But that is totally separate from the ability to transcribe, to take your ideas from your mind and turn it into a functional product. That is the ability to transcribe. So when you are learning Unity, Unity is so complex, it's so heavy, it demands so much of your attention that if you are busy learning Unity, you will not be able to develop your ability to transcribe very easily. It's going to get in the way of your ability to learn the ability to make games, to actually take an idea and make it functional. Unity gets in the way of that. So we'll go ahead and shrink down my presence here on screen now. And if we were to compare Unity to Game Maker to RPG Maker, Unity and also Unreal, they are the equivalent of a Boeing 747. Imagine having never driven a car, having never operated any vehicle, and suddenly they put you in the pilot seat of a Boeing 747, and they say, here you go, fly this plane. You don't know what any of the switches do, and now you are already taking off from the runway, but you don't even know how to make this vehicle move. You do not know how to make a Boeing 747 work. And that is what Unity is. And so now they're saying, learn how to pilot a vehicle, learn how to operate a vehicle, but also it's a 747 and you just have to learn by flying it. That's very discouraging for many people. It is difficult and you have a very hard time wrapping your head around the idea of even maneuvering a vehicle when you have countless switches and meters and dials and levers that you have to learn the functionality of. So Unity and Unreal are like operating a Boeing 747. Game Maker is more like operating a Toyota Corolla. And a Toyota Corolla is a very easy vehicle to control. You can learn on a Toyota Corolla. Obviously, you cannot just hop in the car and suddenly be a good driver, an experienced driver, but it's much easier to learn how to control a Toyota Corolla. Now, if we look at RPG Maker, we can say that this is a bicycle. Sure, it's takes some physical doing to really understand the process, but it's very simple. And once you understand how to control a bicycle, it's very easy to keep going on a bicycle. It's easy to learn the bicycle. So, again, RPG Maker is the equivalent of a bicycle. Game Maker is the equivalent of just a normal car, a Toyota Corolla. It can be a Honda Civic if you want. It doesn't have to. I'm not branded. I'm not sponsored by Toyota. And Unreal and Unity are Boeing 747. Now, here's the thing. If you need to go down to the shop to pick up your Cheetos and cream cheese, you do not need a Boeing 747. If you are just going to the shop for a snack, you don't need a Boeing 747. If you are going to the shop, maybe all you need is a bicycle. If you are going to your friend's house in the next town over, a bicycle is going to be a pain in the ass. You're going to have to do a lot of work, and you can eventually get there, but it might be more appropriate to use a Toyota Corolla to get to the next town over to see your friend. And if you are going overseas, then a bicycle is not appropriate. A car is not appropriate. If you are going overseas, maybe you should take a plane. So that hopefully helps you understand there are situations where each of these engines is appropriate, and there are situations where they are not appropriate. The best absolute engine to learn game development on, to learn transcription, to develop your ability to take a concept out of your mind and to turn it into a functional product that exists in the real world, the absolute best tool to use for that is RPG Maker. There are many versions of RPG Makers. If you would like, I can make a guide on the different versions so that you can figure out which version is best for you. These tend to go on sale for very good prices on Steam quite regularly. With RPG Maker, you have everything is here for you. You have all of the graphics, all of the audio, everything is here. There are character creation systems that let you create character portraits and sprites. It will generate all of that for you. And you have a what you see is what you get system here. You can very briefly see the character creation system. If you want to change the skin color, you can see that it changes all of the sprites for you. Let's go ahead and see what other options we have here. You can change the hair. So it changes, you select from these templates, and you can see it changes the sprite portrait and also the sprites here. This is an extremely powerful system. It gets you going on your project very quickly. There is a huge marketplace for more tile sets. These are the default graphics, but it comes with everything you need to make a full game. Now, you may see people that sort of snub their nose at RPG Maker and say, oh, it's for beginners. Guess what, sweetheart? You're a beginner. So you should be using RPG Maker because it takes all of the resistance out of the way and it allows you purely to develop your ability to transcribe, to take an idea from your mind and to turn it into a functional product. Now, with Unity, you cannot just do that. You cannot just take an idea out of your mind and make it work if you've never made games before, because your ability to transcribe is something that takes years and years of hard work to develop, and it continues to develop the more that you do game development. You have to keep developing that ability. With RPG Maker, it has everything. Everything is here for you. And I want to make this point extremely clear. If you cannot make a game when you already have everything there for you, because RPG Maker has everything there for you. If you cannot make a game when everything is there for you, then you will not be able to make a game when there is nothing for you. If you were to look at Unity, there is nothing there for you. There are no assets. There's no sound effects. You do all of the programming. Nothing is there for you in Unity. So you have to make all of your graphics, all of your programming logic, all of your audio, all of your UI, absolutely everything. And you've never even made a game before. You've never even used game making software before. Now, Game Maker helps you along that process because it has a very strong user interface, the visual interface helps you understand the concepts. It helps you develop your ability to transcribe, but RPG Maker is just better for that because it is more clean, it's more visual, it's easier to understand just by looking at it, and everything is there for you. I want to make that point very clear. Everything is there for you to make a full game. Now, even though the games might be simple, you can extend RPG Maker's capabilities with programming. But I want to make this point very clear, and again, I want to hammer this home. I want you to understand this. It's extremely important. If you cannot make a simple game, you cannot make a complicated game. I know people have these big ideas, and they sit at Denny's until 3 a.m. drinking coffee and saying, I've got these ideas, I'll do this, the game will do that. If you cannot make a simple game, you cannot make a complicated game. So, I strongly advise you, use RPG Maker even if you don't like RPGs. Tough titty, kitty. If you do not like RPGs, oh well. Use RPG Maker and make a game. Because if you cannot make a game when everything is already there for you, you cannot make a game when you have nothing. RPG Maker is such a great tool, but you'll have moments like this, right? That automatically adds tiling for you. This is absurdly powerful. The fact that you can layer that on, you can see I'll have to go put a second mountain on top of that. The fact that you can do this and the engine will automatically adjust the borders and the tile sphere, because if you were to do something like this just by default in the way that Game Maker or Unity does it, you'd see overlap and you would see where they don't connect properly and mountains would be sitting on top of each other, and then you would see gaps in between them. Something like this is absurdly powerful, and it's easy to take something like this for granted. You can see how there's an issue there. And you see a gap there? But if we keep clicking, it will eventually automatically adjust and fix that. Let's go ahead and have a look at layers. So you see A, B, C. We have different layers that we can paint like this. There we go. So creating your environments, RPG Maker does a universe of help for you. RPG Maker helps you make your game. Let's go ahead and just quickly, let's see, how do we create an event here? I think we click on that. I'm just going to guess. I have not used this version very much. But you can see it is intuitive enough to where you can just sort of figure things out. So I double click here. Let's see what the logic looks like here. We'll click on the image, double click on that. I'll just click around. And you can learn game development just by doing and exploring. RPG Maker is perfect for you to jump in and explore. If you click on this here, this is the logic that governs the behavior of the game. Everything that happens here. I will put the text here and say, hello, I am a dude. Okay. And let's go ahead and click that. And now let's see if we can add an item here, right? Let's change items. Potion. Sure, I'll take one of those. And we'll type in potion get. Now, it would be good to have a sound effect play. So maybe we will double click here. And how quickly? So I've not even used this particular version really before. So how quickly can I put that logic in there? Let's see, play SE sound effect. There we go. I'll put bell 1 now. We'll save. And then we'll run it. And let's see how it works. It's running the game. New game. I have a party of characters, which is very nice to have that following effect. I really like that in RPGs. Talk to this fellow. Hello, I am a dude. Potion get. There you go. You can see how easy it was to put all of that logic in there. So, RPG Maker offers all of the power with extremely little resistance. It makes it very easy for you to learn how to transcribe your ideas into a functional product. Let's go ahead and take a look at Game Maker now. It's going to be a little different. And this is something that I've just learned here, is that Game Maker is not very good if you are using a lower resolution screen. I think the screen is 1280 by 800. So this screen, the UI gets very cramped. It's not very good for that. If you were 1920 by 1080, it would be fine. That's what this screen is designed for. Secondly, GameMaker is not very good if you use a trackball. Now, I work extremely long hours, so I use a trackball to avoid an RSI. And the trackball does not work well here because this trackball does not have a middle click, so I actually cannot move my scene left and right. What I'm having to do is hold control, zoom out, and then move the mouse around like that. But it becomes very problematic, as you will see here in a moment. So this is not very good to control with a trackball. It just wasn't designed with that in mind. There is no grab tool, so I can't just grab the scene and move it left and right. There's zoom in and out. So there are some things here where GameMaker just isn't as feature-rich and it's not as polished as Unity. If we double-click on our player character here, let's go ahead and click on variables. A variable is a number value that you can use to control game logic. You can see we have things here like move speed, jump force, grav, which for me personally, this is very poor naming convention because grav doesn't mean anything. Logically, if you were to look at that, it could mean anything. So there would be no reason to just name that gravity unless there's already something built into the game engine that uses the word gravity and you cannot put that in there or it would conflict. That would be the only reason why they would have put grav in there. I don't use this version of GameMaker that much. I've used the older GameMaker because if you use GameMaker 8, you can actually deploy your games to the Sony PSP. That's right, I did not stutter. You can make games for the Sony PSP. You have things like horizontal knockback. So these values let you control the behavior of your game. If you click on this pencil here, let's see, if I click on that, it lets me change that. There we go, click, 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 you can change that. And of course, you can change these values through gameplay logic itself. For example, health, mana. Let's go ahead and click on Edit Object now, and we can see the logic for the object. And this is something that Unity does not have that makes a big difference for GameMaker, and something like this makes it extremely easier to learn GameMaker. You can see that we have something called events, and an event is a physical occurrence, for example, pressing the M key or pressing the W key. Let's go ahead and click Add Event, and we will see that we have Create. So when this object is created, we can run some logic. Step means this occurs every single frame. We have mouse. When the player pushes the mouse button, left, right, down, we can have some logic occur. So let's go ahead and just click on pressing W. We'll double click on this, and we can see that our logic now shows up here. But this is the flaw that I was mentioning earlier, is now there's no space and I can't see that. And I think if you had a middle button, you can grab that and move it around, but I don't have that. So now I have to zoom out and then very carefully aim my cursor and just try and zoom in there. So this is a little bit different than past versions of GameMaker where it had everything in there and it had a visual interface for you to just drag and drop. I'm not seeing that here. I'm not sure if they've removed the drag and drop mechanism from the logical interface. So I will investigate that because it used to be extremely easy. You did not need to know any programming at all. You can drag and drop your actions and you can control gameplay that way. I will investigate that further, but it looks like you do have to use some coding here in GameMaker. And if that is the case, they've lost a lot of the advantage. GameMaker has lost a lot of the advantage that made it much easier to use, because having to learn a programming language is a whole other skill. And when you are learning game development, when you are developing your ability to transcribe your idea, to translate it into the real world, you need to learn one thing at a time. And if you have to learn multiple things at a time, it slows down your ability, it inhibits your ability to learn. So you can see that's how GameMaker works. It's a little easier, it's a little more manageable, just looking at things visibly. Let's go ahead and just run this and we'll see how this looks here. And it would behoove you to check out templates for GameMaker as well. So I think we have to click that. There we go. And if we looked at the logic, you can see pressing W. Oh, I've touched a stump. Okay. And I think it may be good for us to take a look at the stump. So let's zoom out. I saw a stump object here, so let's double click on the stump. And this is something that's going to be very interesting for us. Let's go ahead and edit object, and we'll take a look at the events, and you can see that we have, what is this? Okay, it creates a bullet and knife here, okay. I'm hoping to find a collision event, and I'm not seeing that here. So let's go ahead and take a look at our player again. So again, this is very clumsy to control because I don't have a middle click. I'm assuming the middle click will allow you to maneuver that. I will click on the player character, and I'm looking for a collision event. And it might be this one here. Is this a collision event? So you can define collisions. That looks like it is the collision event. Collision, object, and you can pick whatever object. I think it's the obstacle. So wherever that is. So that is here. So this will occur whenever the player touches that obstacle. They've defined the obstacle to collide with. And so let me clumsily zoom out. I'm just trying here. I'm trying so hard. Okay. And you can see the logic here. So you do have to do some programming. I think it's a shame that they've removed the drag and drop interface. So you do have to learn some programming. And again, that slows down your ability to learn transcription because you have to now memorize all of this stuff. That sucks. Oh well, tough titty kitty. So that shows what happens when the objects collide, but it's still good to have that. That's still very good because you can define that in a very visible way. So that still is more helpful than Unity. Lastly, we'll take a look at Unity. And this is significantly more difficult because now there is none of that visible stuff to help you. All of this is called the inspector. And all the logic here you create yourself. Anything that shows up here is stuff that I've defined. For example, if I want to control those variables such as menu mode, I'll go ahead and open this script here, the home base manager. You define all of these. It's not a big deal when you've been programming. This stuff is very simple and easy, but programming itself is a whole different skill from game development, which is a whole different skill from using a game development software. Those are very different skills. They all are specialized in their own requirements. You have to dump skill points into each particular individual thing. Learning programming is a whole different skill, and they don't really jive together very well. And it's easiest for you to learn and develop one skill at a time. So if I put those in there, menu mode, that will show up. You can control that there. It allows you to reference things like your UI elements, your sprites. But all of the logic for running this game, you can see that this script is just for controlling the UI elements for the main menu, for the gameplay. We'll keep scrolling down. All of this logic is just work that I've created by hand. We have 5,000 lines of code there. That's just for controlling that. Now for your characters, your entities that walk around the ranch, that one's considerably less because there's less logic, 285 lines of code there. But then we take a look at the battle system. So I'll just take a look. I'll type in battle there. Okay, you have your battle entity, battle instruction, battle manager. Let's see. So battle manager, this controls all the logic for the battle system. And we'll scroll down. That one's not that much yet. I'm still working on the battle system. 690, you can see all of this is gobbledygook. This, I hope that's not racist. It sounds racist. This is like looking at, if you've never programmed, if you've never developed a game, this looks like ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Let's go ahead and take a look at this now. I'll look at my database that allows me to control my logic, for example, my character's species or their special attacks. So if we go to species here, you can see that I can, or say for example, special skill, I can define different things, different skills that characters can learn. All of this stuff, you could go on and on and on and on all day long, right? Let's look at species. This allows me to define all the graphics, the behavior, the stats for different species. You can control all of that through here. But this is not here for you. You have to understand taking your ideas, making it functional, and then using a tool to make your workflow manageable. And this I have been developing games since 2000, so maybe 26 years or so. And being able to make a product like this has taken years to be able to develop the ability to take a concept, make it functional, and then to make it so that your workflow is manageable. You have a sustainable workflow that you can keep working on. So many projects will fizzle out and they'll just die because people subconsciously understand their workflow is not sustainable and they're not able to keep making their game because it's too difficult. The way that they've made their game, it balloons in scope and then it becomes logically impossible to follow all of their own logic and their own work. And they just cancel their projects because keeping your project sustainable so that you can complete it and follow it through to the very end is a whole skill on itself. And it takes years of understanding and experience to be able to understand that, you know, and there's thousands upon thousands of lines of code just in this. And if you keep programming, eventually you will reach a Dragon Ball Z reference. So I hope this has been interesting for you. I hope I have been able to help you, but you can see that Game Maker is a good balance, but Unity and Unreal are the absolute most powerful. They will allow you to make absolutely anything. Very powerful. They are a Boeing 747, but you do not always need a Boeing 747. Sometimes you just need a Toyota Corolla, and sometimes you just need a bicycle. Now, I have a graphical issue here. I've clicked a couple times, it's gone away. That was very interesting, very fun. Thank you very much for spending some time with me. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you are interested in game development, whether as a hobbyist or as a professional, I encourage you to stick with it. Do your best. Stay strong. It can be disheartening. It can be difficult, but many people before you have done it. There are people who are less talented than you. There are people who maybe have less intelligence than you, and they have been able to do game development. If game development is something that you feel passionately about, if it's something that you feel deep inside, you have to do it because you care so much about it, then I encourage you to stick with it no matter how difficult it gets. Keep going. You can do it. Thanks very much. I'll see you around. Let me know if you have any questions, if I can help you any further on game development. Be well.